Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspirante podcast. Today, I'm joined by an associate professor of marketing and director of the Executive MBA program at Santa Clara University Levy School of Business, Dr. Kumar Sarangee. We talk about the experience of being in this marketing class for undergrads and EMBA students, his journey to teaching going from India to the United States, and how to be successful in the college environment. My name is Aadit and Dr. I am the co-founder and co-president of Inspirante Education. I am 16 years old, attending Nuremberg High School, and have a deep passion for business, computer science, and design. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspirante podcast. Today, I had the privilege of being joined by Dr. Kumar Sarangee, a professor at the Santa Clara University Levy School of Business. Welcome, Dr. Kumar. Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for the opportunity myself.
What have you been doing during this quarantine? Anything new you started?
Anything new I started? I actually started a couple of initiatives at the Levy School of Business. One was, something which should have been done a long ago, but some of the students created a product club, and we did a design competition in which 35 students participated in groups of seven groups of five, and they were mentored by industry professionals. And then we had awards and everything. So that is the first initiative. The second initiative we started was something which we called as Beach, Bronco Entrepreneurs Advisory Council Hours. I love that name, Come to the Beach. So what this is, that local startups are consulted by a team of undergraduate business students and undergraduate law students under the advice of a couple of my EMBA students and a couple of lawyers. So it was a very cross-functional, boundary-spanning initiative in which, it win-win for everyone because the entrepreneurs got some great advice, students learned a lot, experiential education. My EMBA students learned from the lawyers and vice versa. So these are a couple of new initiatives which got launched, during this strange year.
Has all of this been online?
Yes, everything is online. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have done this in person, but it was all online. But hey, we all learned how to pivot.
How was the whole transition for being a professor, going from in class talking to the students to their face to online where you see the Zoom screen only?
It was a tad bit challenging, but I always look at these challenges as opportunities. I had never done like a whole scale teaching people's, like I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I had done an online MBA before in which it's all online and they do it online, but I'd never done these kind of interaction based learning. It was an interesting challenge, but I think we all did a great job of making the change. Kudos to the students because I'd never thought about teaching undergraduate students online, and they were all over the place, and some were in India. One of them was in Hawaii, people in different states. And it was a fascinating challenge, but I think we all did well. I actually learned a lot. I'd never thought about doing this in my life, so I learned a lot.
Are there any benefits that you say that come as a teacher with online learning?
Benefits to me or benefits to the students?
To you.
Well, first of all, it broadens my reach. Like people don't have to be on the same presence, so I can teach more people outside if they ever want me to. So now I've learned that.
Mm-hmm.
So now, for example, say I'm asked to teach someone in Washington, D.C. or someone in Boston or someone in Iowa or Ohio, I can do that now because now I'll, not that I wouldn't have been able to do, I'm much more confident right now. Okay. Having done this and, with my wonderful students. And I always, my students always give me a long rope. If I do a mistake, it's okay. So it's always good to practice all this with my students before I go out. So I'm much more confident right now after doing this.
Okay. So I want to take you back to 1997. You completed your Bachelor's of Science at Ravenshaw College in Cuttack, India. And then you're about to start your MBA in Marketing at Xavier Institute of Management. How has the MBA process changed from when you first did it to when you teach it now?
So that's a very good, very deep question. You're smart, man. So actually, 1997, so I did two MBAs actually. Mm-hmm. Okay. One in India and one here. And my MBA in India was from a very, very nice university there. And I majored in marketing. And the pedagogy there and the pedagogy I'm trying to do, the style of teaching, there's this evolution, like, people evolve, times evolve. Now my focus is on teaching theory and making sure that people actually apply the theory. So I'll give an example. Uh, I'll give you an example from the EMBA. I'll give you an example from the undergrad students so that you
Okay.
get both perspectives, grad and undergrad. I'm a huge believer in, if you have not been in the foxhole, you don't know what happens in the foxhole. Meaning, if you have not done something, you will not be able to learn that much. Okay.
Right.
So when I started teaching undergrads and I started teaching innovation, product innovation, new product development, and all the interesting stuff for which Silicon Valley is so famous for, I was a bit concerned. I was like, man, I'm teaching people who are 20, 21 years of age, but they don't have much work experience. What is the best way of making sure that they understand? So that A, they can actually interview well for jobs, and B, when they get the job, they should be able to do the job well. You know, these are my two biggest, objectives of teaching. So I decided to start bringing startups. So I started, asking around, but is there a startup which needs help? And especially I started looking at those startups who have an idea, but who have not executed the idea before. And to them, my message was, you know what, don't do anything right now. Let my students do the work for you. Okay, let them do the market research, let them do the initial prototype, let them test the prototype, let them write how do you launch the product, and then you can do whatever you want. So when I started, it was a lot of work for me, because I was literally like the consultant to the students who were working with the
Right.
companies. But one of the biggest things it did for me was teach me about how this works. Because often like I used to expect something and students used to come and tell me, hey, Prof, this is not working this way. What do I do now? And I was like, wow, I never expected this. So it forced me to become better at my own craft. Okay. And I took the same principle to my grad students. Like, for example, there's a very interesting non-profit startup called Readability Matters. And they have a very interesting technology. So I brought them to the Executive MBA class. And the Executive MBA students took their technology, they did a market analysis, they did some new product ideas, and pricing and monetizing and how do you launch that. So they wrote up everything and presented. So that to me is the future of business education. Okay, more and more, and that was not that existent when I was doing my MBA in 1997. It was a tad bit more theoretical, which is great. I'm a firm believer that to become better at execution, you need to understand the underlying theories.
Right.
Okay, but when theory is, complemented by experiential learning, that to me is the best way of teaching and learning.
Was it tough getting these startups to agree with your plan? Because it seems like a win-win situation, but a lot of times startups will say, you're leaving this important task to 19, 20-year-olds who they don't have any credentials in the industry yet. Was it a bit hard convincing these startups to participate?
Again, great question. Great question. So my job was to articulate the value to the startups. What I used to do, that's a great question actually. What I used to do is I used to send off the syllabus, and I used to say they're going to learn these stuff. So they will be trained as they're doing the work for you. Okay. And they're doing these cases, these Harvard business cases. Okay. And I used to meet them a couple of times, and I used to say, okay, they're going to learn this. They're going to do some in-class exercises. So I'm going to train them. And then that training they're going to take and execute with your project. Okay. So yeah, it was, but you're absolutely right. It's a win-win. So I told them, I said, what do you have to lose? Okay. You're going to get, 5 or 6 groups working on your project under my supervision. And you need to trust me that I'm going to get them trained also.
Right.
So a lot of it is also their trust and their faith on me. They used to also vet me, like talk to me and say, and a lot of them, by the way, I also, more and more what I started doing is I love helping my own students. So when my own students had ideas, I used to say, all right, why didn't you let my students work on this? So my happiest moments are when my undergrad students are working on a project with my grad students.
It's a full circle sort of effect.
It's a full circle, because at the end of the day, learning should be a loop.
Right.
Okay. And what my students don't realize fully is they teach me, because I learn a lot reading their projects. I'm thinking, I was like, man, I'll give you an example. Many times my undergrads stun me with their creativity. Maybe I've become stale, becoming older, but I see some ideas. I often send them to the whiteboard to like just prototype and, draw wireframes. So I'll randomly just walk in one day and I'll say, hey, folks, do all of you like the car dashboard? And some people say, no, it's too complicated. And I said, that's exactly right. I don't even understand half of the buttons, what they're for. Okay, let's all take half an hour. Okay, and in groups discuss the main problems with dashboards and what a new innovative dashboard should look like, and just go to the whiteboard and draw. And some of the ideas that flow in, I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, I'm nowhere in the same league when it comes to creativity. So yeah, it's a loop, like you said.
Yeah, it's also that these new generations, I feel like the high school process is getting a lot more different than it
Yeah.
was before. So they're teaching new things, and when they learn new things, they come up with new ideas as well. I wanted to ask you.
Adit, look at you. Look at you. I mean, I'm seriously amazed by you. When I got that email and I looked at one of your podcasts and I saw your thing, I was like, man, at your age, I never, ever, ever thought about doing what you're doing. So kudos to you and the generation like you. I wish everyone is like as entrepreneurial and as creative as you. In fact, I told you about you to my 10-year-old son.
Wow,
I'm like, this is the
thank you
kind
so
of
much.
this. No, seriously, I mean it. I mean it from here. I told him, I said, this is the kind of person I want you to be. Is entrepreneurial, creative, and you have a flair. I see the way you're asking me questions on the basis of my responses. This is something you should not lose for the rest of your life.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to continue on and ask you a question about. I feel like it was very relevant to our listeners. So a lot of our listeners are in high school currently. What is the biggest difference in a way a high school teacher interacts with their class versus the way a college professor interacts with their class?
Well, let me qualify this answer because I've not done my high school years. So I really
Right.
don't know. My son is not in high school. So I really don't know exactly how a high school teacher interacts with you guys, but I'll tell you what to expect if they come to a university. Okay.
Okay.
And if they come to business, especially. The obviously so there's some courses which are more technical, accounting, finance, econ. So there will be a lot more exams, okay, cases and everything. But in the marketing management classes, you will have a lot of experiential learning, especially in Santa Clara. Okay, and I've also taught in Urbana-Champaign as a PhD student. I taught like 5 course classes, and I used to give them small caselets. Like for example, Urbana-Champaign, I'll walk in and I'll say, design a, a family restaurant slash club slash bar for this segment. Tell me what features are relevant and why. Okay, so a lot of the effort in which I put, and I know some of my colleagues also put, is to make you step out of your comfort zone and think at a level deeper than what you would normally, think.
Right.
Okay, because in business, and I'll tell you the reason I do it, because when you come and do a job, you'll realize, like, Adit, you should love your life right now, because the more and more responsibilities come, your life starts getting a lot more complicated. Okay, you'll never have all the information you need in order to make a decision. So you have to learn how to make assumptions. You have to learn how to get out of your comfort zone. Okay, and you have to learn to make important decisions. So it is our job as business faculty to make sure you do it in class, in a lab environment, before you do it in real life. You know,
About
yeah, tell me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
about assumptions. So a lot of times there are always people who say stick with the facts, go with the facts, only go with the facts. Would you say that assuming things about a certain group of people is risky, because if you assume something wrong, that could mess up your whole scheme of things.
Absolutely correct. Okay. What I say is assumptions without data is highly risky. Okay. You will obviously have to get data to back up your assumptions. I mean, you can't walk up to your boss and say, I feel that we should go into this market. He's going to say, how? I assume this market is profitable. How? Why? So you need to have data. So one of the things which more and more you will learn as a business school major, for example, is how do you use data for decision making. So it's always data backed assumptions. Okay, you have data and then you take the data and then you say, okay, based on the information I have, based on the information that we could gather, which is publicly available, these are the assumptions. Without data, assumptions are really dicey. They will make you mess up.
Right. Okay, so I want to go back to you a little bit. So after completing your MBA in 1999, you came to the United States. What was your reasoning for moving from India to the US?
So after I did my MBA, I worked for a couple of years in India.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I worked in two companies actually. And my sister had moved to Cleveland, Ohio, and she was studying. And that was one of the reasons why I came here. I remember her telling me that, why don't you come here do further education? Because I was in Cleveland and there's a very famous university called Case Western Reserve University,
Right.
which is very famous. And I personally wanted to be a consultant. Like I wanted to go into management consulting. And that was one of my objectives at that point of time. I do my own consulting now. And so I came and I did my MBA in finance. My first MBA was in marketing, and that's why intentionally I did it in finance, because that combination augurs well for consulting.
Right.
And that's the reason why I came to the US in the first place.
Once you came to the US, did you just come with the intention, I'm just going to do my MBA here, then I'm going to become a consultant, go back to India, or did you try to build a career here after you got your MBA?
I actually have learned in life not to plan that ahead. So I came here as like, you know what, let me do my MBA, finish my MBA, get a job, and then I'll decide what happens next.
What are some challenges you face as an international student who comes from India to the United States I'm not sure for the first time, but I'm sure it's your first time studying here.
First time. Yeah, did you see which year I came to the US? 2001?
Yeah, 2001.
Do you know what happened in 2001?
Yeah, that was a rough year for the United States.
Yeah, so I came here a month before 9/11.
Oh.
Okay. So it was, and I was in Ohio, and it was extremely difficult at that point of time. Okay. The job market is terrible, especially for internationals. People are not doing visas. Internships are almost gone. Mm-hmm. And, but I've learned in life, what doesn't break you makes you stronger. And I'll tell you what I really learned in that point of time, which strikes me. Actually, two things. I received a lot of help from people I did not expect. They opened their hearts and everything else, which way beyond my wildest expectations. So I learned in life from my experience to help everyone without any expectations. That's the way I help all students who ever ask me whatever. I'm very happy doing that. Second is, I received a lot of help from people who didn't look like me.
Right.
Okay. And I learned to value diversity like it's one of the most important things for me, is diversity in gender, race, anything. I mean, pretty much. I mean, I had friends from Detroit, I had friends from West Virginia, I had friends from Philly, Pennsylvania, Mexico. I played a lot of soccer with them, and I will not. This experience made me who I am. Okay, that's the two things two pieces of advice I'll always give people at your stage. Okay, you can accept diversity, like there is diversity. I have to just do the bare minimum, or you can embrace diversity. When you embrace diversity, you actually get a lot out of life. Okay, my friends taught me a lot about life. When I was in tough times, they helped me very wholeheartedly. They didn't expect anything from me. Okay, and if I've become some sort of a kind human being, they have a lot of role to play. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got a lot of help from my faculty. They went beyond, over and above what they could have done for me, and I realized that the role of a faculty is not only to educate, but to also shape someone's life.
Right.
Okay. And I try. I remember thanking one of my faculty, like I can never thank you enough. And I'll remember this to my dying day. He said, hey, if you really feel I did something for you, now that you're going to become a faculty, do something like that for your students so that they remember you as fondly as you are remembering me. Okay. And I take that very seriously. Okay. So hence I have hopefully really good relationships with my students. So it was really tough. but in that, behind every, what is that silver lining? The silver lining behind every, right? So that was a silver lining which came out of that.
Yeah, so it seems to me you've built some good relationships with your students. I've gone online and I found some reviews about you that your students have put
Yeah.
online. One of them says that Kumar is a great teacher and very inspirational. He creates learning fun and encourages students to experiment by going beyond the comfort zone. He creates a safe learning environment where mistakes are considered as an opportunity to improve. Highly recommend his class. And then another one I found is just, he is awesome. What else can I say? What is the if experience of having these people who that you've played such a pivotal important roles in their life? How was the whole experience for you?
I can't express that in words, man. I mean, seriously, I mean, it's second learning. It is second learning. One of the things I always tell people is, please make your mistakes in front of me. Okay, there is no mistake. There is, I want to convince it's a lab. Okay, you make an experiment, it fails, that's fine, you bounce back. Okay, and to me, and this is my advice to you and all your young, inspiring listeners also, is, and I'm going to quote my advisor. He told me something. He's like, there are two types of experiences in life. Okay, successes and learning experiences. There's no failures. Okay, I failed a lot. Like I failed so much that I used to wonder, like, what I'm going to fail next. So, and one of the things which it inadvertently did for me was the fear of failure is gone from my mind now. Okay, I'm going to try. If it fails, it fails. If it works out, it works out. It is what it is, kind of a deal. So my students keep me honest, and we have such an honest relationship. They'll come and tell me, "Hey, prof, you didn't teach us this aspect." And my syllabus keeps on changing because of all the feedback students give me. Like someone say for example, I teach product manager and someone becomes a product manager. And after 6 months, I'll invite them for lunch and I'll just ask them casually, so did I not teach something which you learned on the fly? And they tell me that. And that's the kind of honest relationship we had. I don't need to sugarcoat anything to them. They don't need to sugarcoat anything to me. It's an equal relationship. For me, teaching is second learning. I really, really, really believe that.
Why did you decide to become a professor in the first place?
That's a good question. I didn't have my visa, my H1B when I finished my MBA, and I was doing a couple of jobs. And when my visa was approaching its, the end period, right?
Right.
So I went and told one of my faculty who actually is inspirational in making me who I am. And I said, I need a job which can sponsor me. And he said, I think you should do a PhD. And I said, come on, don't joke now. Seriously? He said, no, I think you should do a PhD. And I said, can you tell me why? And he said, he gave me his rationale. I won't, he just told me why he felt that way. And I said, come on, don't blow sunshine on me. He said, no, I really mean it. You can do it and this is going to be something which I think will be the best thing for you. And he convinced me to apply. And he wrote a letter of recommendation for me. And he did. See, this is a great example of what I meant when I told you I got help from sources I never expected. He wrote a letter of recommendation. He called up people for me and all that stuff. And he said, don't worry, you will do it well. Trust me. And I said, okay, I trust you. Okay. That's how I started my PhD. And while I was doing my PhD, I realized that, I really I enjoyed interacting with people. Okay. And I never felt that I would be a good teacher till I taught. Okay, the first time I taught, I was extremely nervous. I can't even tell you how nervous I was. Okay, I remember finishing off my class, I think half an hour early. And I was like, man, this can't be correct. The class is supposed to end 1 hour, 15 minutes. I finished in 45 minutes. What the hell? People are like really happy leaving the class. I was like, maybe I'm too nervous. So, but then I eventually settled down. And then I got, people appreciated me. And I was like, what, this is something I can totally see myself doing. And the more and more I started interacting with students and learning from them, and then I realized that I can really impact someone's life, and that's what struck me. So I like this interaction. I genuinely love interacting with students.
I feel like I've taught a couple of times before, and I feel like the first time you're teaching, you think that you don't have enough time. So when you have that in your head, you talk like double the rate, and then you finish everything in half time. Where you have the syllabus, that's if you talk normally, it's good for the normal amount. But then if you talk, you always think that I don't have enough time, and then you talk super fast.
But you have not met me in 2001. In 2001, when I first came here, like, Indians speak fast.
Right.
I was fast by Indian standards.
Wow.
Okay, so I remember this interesting incident. You laugh at this. So our strategy, the first 1 month, no one understood me because I was so fast. Okay, and then I was like, man, it's so difficult to explain. Let me just stay quiet. It's just better to be quiet. And I remember the one of the professors asking a question, and no one knew, and I knew. So,
Hmm.
and I was like, should I raise my hand? And and in the end, I raised my hand, and he said, okay, all right. And then I just rattled off. It was like a machine gun bullet points, right? He patiently listened to me, and he said, Kumar, I don't know what you said right now, but it must have been profound. It's like, oh man, this sucks. So when I started doing a PhD, then I started practicing how to slow down and slow down and slow down. Even when I joined in 2009 and I started teaching, I used to apologize in the class. I said,
Hmm.
there are two problems with me. One is my speed of speech. Please tell me if I'm too fast, and I'll slow down. The other is my accent, which I refuse to change. you know I'm proud of my accent. I'm not going to change it for anything in the world. But my speed, please stop me, ask me to repeat. So I've slowed down. But yeah, you're right. In your head, you're like, oh man, I need to cover all these. And then you start.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. What did you teach?
I taught the AP Computer Science syllabus to a couple of students here in the local Bay Area where I live. So I just taught them. I did a 2 week crash course. Each day we did covered one unit of the AP Computer Science course. So I just taught them from Hello World to like iterations, loops, recursion, stuff like that. So yeah.
I'm curious, man. What else have you done in this tender age? You have taught. You have a podcast. Like, what am I missing? Something? Is there something else interesting that you're
The
doing?
competition is getting higher and higher for everything, so you keep on having to adapt. You keep on having to look for new things, and you have to look for new ways where you can stand out. I feel like that's something that a lot of people, especially in this Bay Area, because everyone here is very competitive, so everyone's trying to one up everyone else. Because right now the current goal is get into the best college you possibly can. After that, we'll see what happens. But right now, we're just trying to one up each other so we can look better than the person next to us.
Were you always internally driven, or how were
Um,
you?
I feel like I became internally driven once I moved here. So I used to live in San Diego, and then when I moved here, I noticed that a lot of
Were you
people.
in San Diego before this?
Yeah, I lived there before this. So then when I moved here, I saw how driven everyone was. So I'm like, I have to adapt to my environment. And then around middle school, I was still a bit slacking off. I still got a couple B's and all that. But then when I came to high school, I'm like, wow, this is a real deal. That's where the only person who can take me somewhere is myself. So I feel like high school is where I got that thing, that competitive mindset that I need to be the best, and I need to find ways to distinguish myself from other people.
So now that you have come into your own, don't lose this drive.
Yeah.
This drive is what is going to take you, very far in life.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm very grateful for getting in this environment. A lot of people say it's too much stress. I feel like that's gonna help me later on in life as well. The amount of the
So,
pressure.
I get asked this question a lot, like, how do you handle stress? And I have been under stress for a long period of time, educational stress and everything. And my strategy, okay, you don't need to follow anything. It's just my strategy is this is my advice to all my students, by the way. I just say that, I have a lot of one-on-one meetings. Is I always say, optimize yourself to the best of your ability. Like, the best version of Adit should be on display every single time, and leave the rest to your destiny. You know, there are two types of variables in life. One type of variables are what you actually have control over,
Hmm.
and there's one type of variables you don't have control over.
Right.
We always worry about the variables we don't have control over. So, for example, exams, right? Do you have any control over the exam's outcome?
Yeah, you have some control.
Not everything, right? But what do you have the most control over? Your own preparation.
Right.
But what do most people worry more about? Not their preparation, they worry about the outcome.
Right.
So in this worrying about the outcome, they don't optimize their own performance. I mean, their own preparation, sorry. Okay. So at the end of the day, just keep it simple. Stupid is the best rule. Okay. Blank out on the outcome, just focus on the whole preparation. And that's all you can do, and then you live with the consequences.
Right. So I want to go back to you. You decided to become a professor after completing PhD at UIUC. After completing it, did you decide to become a professor, or were you still interested in becoming a consultant?
In fact, I had my opportunities. I didn't take them. During a PhD, I decided academics is what I'm most interested in because academics has three elements. One is research. Okay, I got really interested in research in Urbana-Champaign. Urbana-Champaign is a very good school.
Right.
It's very research intensive. So I got into that flair. I'm still research active. I intend to be research active for the rest of my life. Then you have teaching, which I found as interested and good at. Okay. I have a lot of scope for improvement, but I was not as bad as I thought. And then there is service, okay, which is all these initiatives I talked about. I'm the director of an EMBA program,
Right.
and there are a lot of committees I work in. I'm on the advisory boards of a few committees, so that's the service aspect. So this mix of research, teaching, and service, okay, was very interesting to me. It keeps me honest. It doesn't get boring. I'm not doing only one thing throughout my day. So yeah, I decided it was going to be academics. That's it. I had no interest in going back to the corporate world. I do my own consulting and corporate education, all that stuff, but I'm predominantly an academic.
Why Santa Clara University specifically?
Great question. I was in Illinois, and actually, the credit goes to my wife because my wife said, and she was a software programmer at that point of time, and she told me that could you please try to move to a place in which I can get some jobs. Okay. And you won't believe this is destiny. Uh, at that point of time, I'd not heard of Santa Clara University at that point of time. Okay. And I was looking at the advertisements and the Santa Clara University. And in the description, it was like, we are in the Bay Area and we are here and here and here with these companies. And I was like, man, this is the right place. Okay. And then I applied. And then they called me. Okay. And then I went and interviewed. Then they called me again. And that's how I got into Santa Clara University. And once I walked into it and I saw California and and I'd spent 8 years in the Midwest. Okay.
It's not a fun place to live.
Not compared to this. And when I walked into the campus, I was like, man, have you ever come to our campus?
Once, yeah, it's beautiful. I've been there once.
I've come here now. Now there's new buildings all over the place. We have a new engineering school. We have a new a STEM campus. We have a new law school campus. It is absolutely gorgeous. And once I walked in and I was like, man, I hope they hire me because I love what I'm seeing right now.
Once you come to California, you can't leave it because of the weather.
The weather and I wish it was I wish it was cheaper. Now where you left from San Diego, my friend, that is the most beautiful place I've seen. That's one of the places which is aspirational. But yeah, it's very difficult to leave California. Plus, my research is in innovation, product management, entrepreneurship. And this is the hub. I mean, you can't argue that. There's no argument. This is the hub, tech management and all that stuff. So I have learned a lot. If I didn't join Santa Clara, I don't think I would have been this good simply because of the exposure I got.
So you have taught in other countries as well. You didn't just teach in the United States. You've taught in Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Spain, and Japan. What's the whole experience?
They actually come here.
Oh, really?
They come here. So we host all these universities for like a week long on Silicon Valley. Okay. And then we give them tailored sessions. So I've taught Germany, a couple of universities in Germany, one in Switzerland, one Italian university, one Spanish university, and the University of Tokyo.
Is it different than teaching kids in the regular SEU school?
Different in the sense that, I mean, they're all bright, like super bright, okay, like eerily bright, but their characteristics are different. Okay. And it made me a better teacher because, the people from University of Tokyo were the most respectful human beings I've ever met. Like, I was embarrassed. They were thanking me for everything and they were so deferential. I had to literally get them to speak. Okay. And my German friends, I've taught them for 7-8 years now, Germans and Swiss, they don't speak much and they're extremely serious. But when they speak, it's so well thought after, so, insightful, and they've really given it a thought. They want to be sure they're on the right track before they speak. But Americans are more experimental. You know, they will just say it. They don't have that, those constraints. So it's diversity again. I love the diversity. I love diversity in everything. Period.
Right.
So just teaching all of them again, and the Italian folks were beyond friendly.
Right.
The Spanish folks were the happiest human beings I've ever met. I used to look at them and be amazed. Like, are you always this happy? So just being around them, I was like smiling all the time. It's awesome just to see the whole spectrum of people. Won't trade it for anything in the world.
Is there any personal favorite that you had? Any personal favorite group that you taught? No, you can't answer
Because
that
you have a
anyways.
favorite, but you don't enjoy diversity. I enjoy diversity, in all forms and formats.
Right.
Okay, in all form and formats. But it's good fun.
So, what type of students do you think that Santa Clara University is specifically looking for? What characteristics are they looking for?
Intellectually curious. Okay, because the possibilities are limitless. Okay, when you walk in, you should be like a dry sponge. Okay, and you should have a thick skin, because if you cannot improve without feedback.
Right.
Cannot improve without feedback. And I can tell you my opinion. Santa Clara is a broad term because it's everyone's different. But I can tell you my perspective. I always tell my students, like, when you come into my first class, you're my customer. When you finish my class and leave my class, you're my product. And I do not want my products to fail. Okay, so all I ask for is an open mind and a thick skin. Because I would much rather you hear the truth from me in a non-dangerous setting, which is my class. Worst case, it'll be a little bit dip in grades, but I would much rather prefer you make a mistake with me than make a mistake in a real life environment when jobs are at stake, or you have a boss who might or might not be happy. So come to Santa Clara University with an open mind to learn from each other, because Adit, you're going to meet a lot of Adits in the university. Okay, people are as driven as you. And some of my undergrad students have gone on to do like phenomenal stuff. Okay, they're working in all the top companies. One of my students just became a product marketing manager in Google Sydney. Another is in Amazon. Other people are in Cisco. I mean, they're working in all the companies you can think of. Citrix Solutions. Some of them have their own startups. They're working on their own startups. So it's you will see the whole. So the opportunities are thing. Just be willing to take the opportunities and work hard. And you see, look, at the end of the day, every university is the same. Right. You can work hard and you may not work hard. If you don't work hard, and I've seen those people, I keep warning them, like, listen, it's been 3 years and you have just had one internship. You're in trouble, my friend. You need to start ramping up. So opportunities are limitless, I'm telling you. All you need to do is take them.
How can high schoolers prepare themselves for college? Because it's a very different environment that they're going to.
Well, find out mentors. I cannot ever emphasize the importance of having mentors. Even now, I look for mentors. My mentor is one of my advisors who is now dean of a university. And I have other co-advisors and other people within Santa Clara University. I always ask them if I don't know something, like, mentor me here. What should I do here? Okay. Seek out college mentors. Okay. Reach out to peer advisors in colleges. Come and sit in a class and see how it goes. Okay. Walk around campuses. Get into that mindset. It's all a mindset, right? Okay. That's why I always tell high school kids, hey, before you go to a college, go drive around, see the campus, see the thing, get into the groove of things, talk to a few faculty. I have had some people come and say, hey, can I sit in your class? Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay. And then work out the best thing for yourself. But that's the best way to prep yourself, is get a taste of what a college has to offer.
Okay.
And the last thing I would like to point out is, often what happens is high school becomes very insular. Right. Because there's so much of competition. You know it, Adit, right? Yeah. I mean, people don't invest in each other's development. Okay. So that is something which I think could be changed. So if there are 5 or 6 of you who are really bright and you want to push each other, it would be great for you guys to get together and, like educate each other and, take each other's interviews, see each other's essays, uh, genuinely try to improve each other's essays, because that's the difference between a friend and a great friend. Okay. I have a few of them. I'll never leave their friendship, hopefully, for the rest of my life. And we are genuinely happy with each other's successes. We are genuinely unhappy with each other's failures. We look out for each other. We give each other advice. And if you can find 3 or 4 of those people and then, push each other and maybe go to a college camp, a class together, discuss among each other what you liked, what you disliked, how can you prep each other. That'll be very, very nice, if possible. I mean, if not possible, that's a different case.
Okay, and then my final question for you for today is, would you have any final advice to any middle schoolers, high schoolers, or even college students listening to this podcast for life?
Give everything your best shot and leave the rest. Okay. You can either complicate life or you can simplify life. Okay. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay. You should not wake up the next day and realize, I should have tried harder.
Right.
That should not happen. So if you write a college essay, it should be the best possible essay. If you're taking your SAT exams, it should be your best possible effort. Okay. Don't leave anything to chance. Okay. Opportunities don't come 100 times. Every opportunity deserves your best shot. Okay. And then you can live with the consequences. Okay. And don't treat failures as failures. Treat failures as learning opportunities. Okay. I always tell people, don't get too high with successes. Don't get too low with failures. Okay. Treat failures as learning opportunities, and don't repeat your mistakes. Learn from those mistakes and make the changes. Okay. Last but not the least, have intellectual curiosity. Okay. And with intellectual curiosity should come humility. Okay. If you're not humble, you never learn. Okay. Because remember, for every good person, there is a better person. For every better person, there's an even better person. Okay. So be humble, be intellectually curious, seek mentorship. Okay. Have a thick skin, learn to take feedback the right way, and have an open mind. And I'm very impressed with you, by the way, Aadit. I'm not saying because you invited, but to see this amount of drive, you have taught, you have your own podcast at this age, don't lose that though.
Thank you. Okay, well, that's it for me. Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar, for joining me on the Inspirante podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure is all mine. Congratulations to everything you do. My best wishes to all of you.
Thank you.
All the best to all your listeners. I hope all of you do well in life.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you like our Facebook page and follow our LinkedIn for updates on future episodes. If you're listening on Spotify, follow our Spotify as well. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified on our future episodes. Stay tuned for our next episode.